other sweet spots do you have? I know you mentioned you had a couple, and I loved
Yeah.
all of them.
I love working with people in transition, but people that are motivated, they're looking at their lives and they're saying, I'm ready for things to be different. That's really, I was sitting with a friend of mine who does branding, and I was saying to her, this was a few years ago, I said, well, I don't know exactly how to represent what it is that I do. And she said, well, just talk to me. So we just talked and talked and talked. And all of a sudden she said, and that's it. And I said, what? What did I say? She said, you said, when you want things to be different. And for a long time, that was on my business card. Anne Fry, when you want things to be different. And so I love working with people that have that level of motivation to say, I'm tired of the same old, same old. I'm ready to take some risks to, like I said, color outside the lines, do something different. It's not just about maybe changing a job. Maybe it's doing something different. Maybe it's incorporating some things that they love into their life that they haven't done because they've been so busy earning a living. Sometimes it's moving outside of relationships. Sometimes it's climbing Mount Fuji. I don't know what it is. I haven't had one actually say that. But, you know, it's when they're ready to say, I want something new and different.
And you would think in today's ever-changing, ever-challenging business world, that would seem to be a really motivating factor for people, because there is so much uncertainty everywhere. You know, I call it, we're all dancing on shifting sands.
That's true.
There's just no certainty wherever we are. And you would hope and think that people would say, God, it's got to be different. How can I shift myself so that I can go through a transition, or I can be a better leader, or I can be a better manager.
I can be an example.
Yeah,
right?
I could be an example for people.
Right.
You would think that would be tantamount for people.
But you would think, you know, and they can say it, and they can want to do it, but then it's the doing of it. You know, we can all have these dreams and say, oh, I'd love to do this. I'll give you, for example, I lived in Austin, Texas for 20 years, and then 6 years ago I moved to New York at a ripe old age. And there were people that said, oh my gosh, why do you want to move to New York? Are you crazy? I mean, that's huge. How are you going to make a living in New York? It's so expensive to live there, and it's a scary city, and you know, all the reasons why I shouldn't do it.
Exactly.
There weren't too many of those naysayers. There were a few, but most of the people said, and you've been in New Yorker your whole life, whether you live there or not. You just have that personality. You talk fast. You're, you know, assertive. I don't like to say aggressive. Go for it. We're there to support you. But a lot of people can't, and I, you know, I did. I checked it out, and I said, okay, that's it. I'm moving to New York. And a few weeks later, actually, I was living here, and I've never looked back. You were talking a minute ago about, you know, that there's a whole world out there, and how we need to start looking in these times as to what's next. In Austin, Texas, there's an ice cream company called Amy's Ice Cream. And Amy was a college student at University of Texas. She was, I think, going to go to medical school, and she loved ice cream, and she was making ice cream, and all of a sudden her ice cream was so great that she opened up a store, and the rest is history, and she's got stores all over there. And their motto is, life is short, eat dessert first, and they've got the t-shirts and all that. So the truth of the matter is, when you put off doing things, this will move us into a third sweet spot for me, I think.
Yes, that's the one I was hoping you would go to.
The personal one?
Yeah.
You know, life can be very short. You do not know what's going to come and bite you in the rear end, you know, when you least expect it, right? We've been talking about this. So, you know, at length. So, you know, guys, you just never know. You just never know if life is going to intervene and get in the way. So why do you want to put off what you can do now? Because someday maybe there won't be the chance.
Right.
So the third sweet spot, so I moved to New York 6 years ago, and 3.5 years into my moving here, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And you know, you could compare your own breast cancer with somebody else's, It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You never want to
Yes.
compare because
Right.
your experience is your experience. And certainly there's people that have it better than you and there's people that have
Right.
it worse than you.
Exactly.
But I'm telling you, it has taught me so much about the importance of not putting off, not staying in the status quo, just living life to the fullest. Something I didn't tell you is for years I've wanted to go to Japan. We had an exchange student from Japan. I lived in Japan when I was young, and I've booked a flight now in October.
Oh, wow.
I have frequent flyer miles. I have a place to stay. It's like, why do I want to put that off? God forbid. You know what I mean? I sort of call this living on borrowed time. I
So
don't want to.
tell us about in your that sweet spot of yours, that third one, cancer related,
Yeah.
what you want to do or
I
you
actually, yeah, I'm starting to do. I'm developing speaking topics and probably, not sure how coaching groups will work with that, but I'm hoping to find a way to do that. I'm looking for sponsors, for sponsoring companies that would love to have me go around and do some speaking about this topic. I actually am going to be talking to a pharmaceutical company soon, somebody who's very interested and someone I've worked with in coaching. I've coached some people in that company. The idea is there's messages about how to be there to support people going through cancer. For the people to support themselves emotionally, to be able to reach out, to depend on others, to be there for the caregivers, for the hospital personnel to know what people are really going through when they have cancer. And I have a unique viewpoint. I have a 360-degree view because I started out as a therapist. I used to deal with death and dying. I ran a hospice. I have lost family members, including a very young brother, to cancer. And so I've been a sister, a caregiver, hospice provider, and now I've been a patient.
Yes.
So I have this really, this 360-degree
Yes,
view
exactly.
to be able to talk about this. And I think there's also the need inside companies to be able to say, how do you deal with cancer in the workplace? People are going through chemotherapy, people are going every day and having radiation.
Right.
People that work there, they don't know what to say. So how do you have those tough conversations? So my newest sweet spot is this new website I'm putting up called IamAthriver.com. And I have a personal
to a survivor.
I have a personal bias about that. I feel like obviously you want to survive and not die, right? I mean, survivor's a better
hope.
option, right? But surviving to me sounds like surviving the Holocaust or surviving a horrible accident. And it feels almost like you're hanging on by your fingertips. Thriving means you are living, you are being in the present with wherever you are and making the most of it. So if I had my way, I would find a way virally to change the language. So IamAthriver.com, and the subtitle is Transforming the Conversation of Cancer, and seeing what I can do to get that word out there. And that doesn't mean that the pink ribbons and all of the people that talk about survivors have to go away. I just want this to be another message that I see as a little bit more empowering.
And kind of a little bigger.
A little bit bigger.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So I think, and if you put all of this together, I see it all under the umbrella of reinventing and thriving, whether it be company culture, whether it be people in transition, whether it be people with cancer. That's kind of my umbrella, that people are constantly reinventing for happiness, fulfillment, not sitting back and letting life pass them by.
And so many people do, they think, I'll do it tomorrow, or, I'm going to wait till next year, I'm going to wait until this happens, that whole story.
Right.
I'm going to wait until I retire.
Right.
And then
Or I'm going to wait till I have enough money.
Right.
Or I'm going to wait till the kids get out of college.
Right. And what happens, I think, is people retire, and I know several people, they wound up dying. they never got to do what they wanted to do.
Well, they didn't feel fulfilled anymore. They didn't feel purposeful.
Right.
You know, some of you might remember Randy Pausch, who lived a few years ago and wrote that famous book, The Last Lecture. He had pancreatic cancer. He was a young college professor with young children. And he was a dying man who taught us about living. And if you've not read that book, it's just absolutely amazing. He epitomizes thriving in the face of death by living his life as full out as he possibly could until he took his last breath. It was so beautiful and so meaningful. And I don't know, people have said to me, Anne, you were such a trooper the whole time that you went through cancer. It's like, I don't know, I just did what I did.
Right.
But I surprised myself.
Yes, I think when we see adversity or we're faced with something, I've also had cancer 17 years ago. I think we just do what needs to get done.
Yep.
You know, okay, we'll do this, and then we'll do that, and then we'll do this, and then we'll do that, and you somehow get through it.
And then afterwards, it's like a lot of the small stuff that used to bother you doesn't bother you anymore.
Some of it still bothers me. I'm sorry.
A little bit, right.
I want us to have your website.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
Okay. It's www.annfry, that's ANNFRY.com. And soon, within the next couple weeks, it will be www.iamathriver.com. That's being developed and will be up shortly.
Oh, that's great. Also, Anne is going to be at our ICF NYC chapter meeting this coming Wednesday at 6 o'clock. We're having Anne as our guest speaker, and she will be talking about re-energize, repurpose, and reinvent.
Right.
A lot of what she talked about today. And if you're interested in joining us,
please
you can go to our website, www.icfnyc.org, and you can sign up to join us Wednesday night. And that would be great. We'd love to have everybody. So we have almost a minute left. Any last wrap-ups or words you'd like to tell us?
Well, you know, it sounds pretty trite, but it's like, you know, don't put off today what, you know, and wait till tomorrow. Just be who you want to be, have what you want to have. And I realize that there are limitations. That can sound pretty airy-fairy. You know, I don't have any money, I don't have any time. You know, people have those usual
Always,
excuses.
right.
But there are so many things that you can do to reinvent even in small ways. It's like if you've never taken a trip by yourself, go take a trip. You know, if you drive the same way to work, drive a different way. Just do something different. Do something different, and then do something else different, and allow yourself to build up and see that there's another whole path out there that you can have, and maybe it's enjoyable and pleasant.
Thank you for being here. Thank
You're
you for
so
being
welcome.
my guest. I've really enjoyed having
great.
you.
It went fast.
And yes, it did go fast, and it was great.
That's good.
Thank you.
You're very
Thank
welcome.
you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, and good night.